Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video will be on this shared dress for our princesses, and without wasting so much time, let's get straight into the video. So guys, for this tutorial we'll be marking on our pattern paper because of the yoke on the style. So I have my pattern paper here and I'll be cutting the back and the front the same. Then we'll make some adjustment for the front. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is to mark a straight line for our starting points, and then from there I'll go ahead and take the length of my gown, and the length of my gown is 32 inches. Which is here. So I'll be adding all stitching allowance while I'm transferring this to our fabric. So for now, let's just cut out the main measurements that we'll need for the style. So once I am done with that, I'll go ahead and take my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 6 inches. I won't be adding stitching allowance to it so that by the time I use ½ inch to turn it, it goes in a bit. I don't want it to be too off the shoulder. So I'm going to go ahead and mark my bust point. When you look at the style, you can see that the bust point is wider than it's supposed to be. So instead of marking at 6 inches, I'm going to be marking at 7.5 inches. So this is what we have after that, and I'll also connect this measurement, this shoulder measurement to the bust line. So guys, this is what we have. So because this neckline is for collar, or it has collar, or this shirt has collar, so I'll be marking the width of the neck by is 2.5 inches. Then the depth is also 2.5 inches. Then for the back neckline, I'm going down by 1 inch. Remember I said I am going to be using the same pattern to cut out both the front and the back. So this is the back and this is the front. Then for my shoulder slope, I'm going down by ½ inch. Then I'll connect it to the starting point. Then the next I'm going to be doing is to take my bust measurement divided by 4. And what I have there is 7.5 inches. But because this is a shirt dress, I'm not going to be marking just 7.5 inches. I'll add 1 inch for ease. All stitching allowance will be added in while transferring this to our fabric. So I'll go ahead and measure this point to this point. And whatever I have there, I'll divide it into 2. I'll make a mark there. Then at that point, I'm going inward this way by ½ inch. So I'll go ahead and connect this point, and this point. So this is for our armhole curve. So I'll go ahead and mark my hip measurements. So I'll place my tape at the starting point. Then I'm going to go ahead and mark my hip. And for my hip is 20 inches. So I'll make a mark there. The reason why I'm not marking my half length is because my bust and my waist are the same. But if yours are different, if your bust and your waist is different, mark the way you mark your bust measurements, you include your waist measurement so that you take your measurement there. So that's why I didn't mark my waist. So for my hip is 35 inches divided by 4 is about so it's about 8.25 or thereabouts. So I'll go ahead and make a mark there. Then remember we added 1 inch for ease at the waistline. So I'll go ahead and add also down 1 inch. Then I'll go ahead and connect these 2 points. So the difference between the waist, the bust and the hip is not so much. I don't know if you guys can hear me, it just started raining. So I'll go ahead and make this mark all the way to the end. But you can see I kind of brought my hand out while coming downward. It's just for my preference. So I'll go ahead and cut this out so that we'll transfer to our pattern paper and then make our fabric and make some adjustments to the front. So guys, before we transfer this to our fabric, you can see I came in as I was approaching towards the waist. I went out by about 3 inches. So I wanted this side to be a bit bigger or let's say have an A-line effect. So for the yoke, I'm going down by 6 inches from the starting point. Then I'll go ahead and cut this out so that we'll transfer this to our fabric. What we have, so this will be for pattern fabric, and then the other yoke, the yoke will be for our plain fabric. So I'll go ahead and transfer this. I've already put it. So guys, this is what we have. So I'll go ahead and add my stitching allowance to it. So for the shoulder, for the upper part, I'm going to be adding half an inch, the armhole half an inch. Okay, remember I said I'll be adding stitching allowance at the armhole, so I don't think there's any need for us to add stitching allowance at the armhole, so I'll just add to the here, and then this, ignore this, we're not adding stitching allowance there. So from here, I'm going to be adding also half inch stitching allowance. Then at this point, I'm adding 1.5 inches to 2 inches stitching allowance. So I'll go ahead and cut this out. So this is for our back bodies or front one. So guys, I'm done cutting out the back bodies or the back pattern, and remember we added half inch stitching allowance. So I'll be using that back pattern to cut out the front one. As you can see, I've transferred the fabric to another one, another folded fabric, and then at the center front I added half inch stitching allowance. So this is where the back one stopped. I added half inch stitching allowance. We are going to be using it to attach that the plain fabric for the button. So we added just half inch stitching allowance, and then every other side is the same thing with the back. So I'll go ahead and cut this out. So guys, for the yoke, I remember I said we are cutting the back one first before we cut out the front one. So this is our neckline, and my fabric is folded in two. So I'll go ahead and add my stitching allowance at the neckline, and also show the shoulder line. Remember I said no stitching allowance. I'm not adding any stitching allowance here. So at this point I also add half inch stitching allowance to join it to the lower part of the gown. So I'll go ahead and cut it. So once I am done, I'll go ahead and take out the back pattern, and then I'll use the same pattern to cut out my front. But before I cut out the front one, I'll first of all cut out the front neckline. Then I'll go ahead and transfer this to our pattern paper, our fabric, sorry. So guys, this is what we have after we are done. I added half inch stitching allowance all around, but the armhole area I didn't add. So I'll go ahead and open this up for our button, just like we did for the gown, for the lower side of this gown. So this is for our front yoke, and then this is for our back yoke. So guys, I'll open up this back side of this shirt dress, and then you can see how the effect of that A-line curve that we gave it. So I'll open up the back one, and then I'll pick up the back yoke. At this point we'll be doing first front facing front. I'll go ahead and stitch down by half of an inch all the way to the end. So I'll just pin this down so that it doesn't move. Once I am done with that, I'll also open up my front bodies. I'll open up my front bodies, and then I'll bring in my yoke. I'll also be doing front facing front. I'm trying to know which side is the armhole and which side is the center front. So I'll place it this way, and I will stitch down just like we did for the back bodies. So I'll open it up this way. I'll be doing front facing front. I'll go ahead and stitch this way by half of an inch, and I'll do the same thing for this other side. So guys, this is what we have after I was done joining this, and then I went ahead to serge it. Then the next thing I'm going to be doing is to measure from this front neckline all the way to the hem, so that we'll know the length of fabric we're going to be cutting. So I'll go ahead and place my tape at the neckline, and then I'm going to go ahead and measure all the way to the end. So I have 31.5 inches here. So guys, I've gone ahead to cut out a fabric of 31.5 inches, and then the width of it I have 4 inches here. so it's two. Remember, it's two fronts that we are working on. So I'll bring okay, just like I said, the width is 4 inches. So I'll bring in my bodice, and then I'll pick up one of the so we're trying to create a button casing with this. So I'll place it this way from the back side of this gown. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch by 1/2 inch. Remember, we added 1/2 inch to the shirt dress for this button. So I'll stitch by 1/2 inch from this. Sorry, I didn't know it was out of camera. So I'll stitch 1/2 inch from here, from the neckline all the way to the end, with that 1/2 inch that we added to the center front of the front body. So once I'm done with stitching that, so let me go ahead and pin this down. So let's assume I'm done stitching this. I'll go ahead and turn it to the front. Then I'll fold in by 1/2 inch at this point, and then I'll fold over again like this. And then I'll go ahead and stitch all the way to the end as well. I hope you guys get this. So once I am done with that, I'll do the same thing for the other side of the front. So guys, this is what we have after I'm done with the button area. So before we continue, let's go ahead and cut out our collar. So I'll go ahead and place my neckline, or fold it into two. I'll make notch at the back of the neckline. Then I'll go ahead and measure from that place I made that notch to the front side of the neckline. So I have about 8.25 here. So I'm going to be cutting a collar of about 8.25 from fold. So guys, my fabric is folded into two. So I'm going to be measuring 8.25 that we got earlier on this fabric. So I'll measure 8.25. Then I'll add 1/2 inch stitching allowance at this point. Then for the length of my collar, I want my collar to be 2 inches. Then I'll add 1 inch stitching allowance. The 1 inch is 1/2 inch for this side and 1/2 inch for this side. So this is what we have. Then so guys, at this point, the place that is open, I'll go up by 1/2 inch, and then I'll connect it this way. At this point as well, I'll go up by 1/2 inch, and then I'll connect it this way. So we are just doing a simple collar. We are not doing anything complicated here. So this is our collar. I'll go ahead and cut this out. So guys, this is what we have. So at this point, I'm going in by 1 inch. So I'll connect it this way, and then I'll go ahead and cut this out. So this is what we have for our collar. So I'll open it up, and then I'll go ahead and place it facing front. I will go ahead and stitch from here to here to here, and then to here, and then I'll turn it to the right side. So guys, I went ahead to cut out a fabric of 1.5 inches for the length, and then the width is as long as your armhole, or the length is as long as your armhole. The width is 1.5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the gown, the shirt dress, to the wrong side, and then I'll stitch by 1/2 inch all the way to the end. Once I am done, I'll make notches everywhere necessary, and then I'll fold in by 1/2 inch this way, and then I'll close up the armhole, and then I'll stitch all the way to the end. So guys, this is what we have. So I just turned it to the right side. If you have a means of ironing, go ahead and iron, or you can just stop stitch this way or to the end. So the next thing I'm going to be doing, I'll bring in my neckline. So from the back of my neckline, I'm going to open this collar up. I'll make sure the starting point matches each other, and then I'll stitch all the way from one end to the other. Once I am done with that, so I'll go ahead and hold it down with my pin. Let's assume that I've already stitched it down, and then I'll turn it to the right side, fold in by 1/2 inch, and then I'll stop stitch from the beginning to the end.